Invited guests. The board encourages members of the public to attend work sessions and listen to the discussion, but there is generally no opportunity for public comment. Members of the public wishing to address the board are welcome to do so during the board's regularly scheduled meetings held twice monthly. So we have a few extra items on the agenda for our work session. We have the PSCC bylaws amendment on page 3. We have the Fair Board MOU on page 13. We also have an election update following that, and then we will have a brief executive session, about a 10-minute executive session at the end. So those will be the 4 items on the agenda. First, let's discuss the formal agenda. Everybody have an opportunity to review the formal agenda? You want to add a business item, is that right?
So, Chair Coelho, members of the board, if after the executive session, there may be an agenda item that will be added as a business item to the regular agenda, and we'll discuss that during the executive session.
Okay, sounds good. Any other comments, questions on the agenda?
Yes, actually.
Yeah.
Thank you. How wonderful to be here in person with everyone. It's been a long time.
We're glad to have you here.
I'm telling you, it is old home week. Thank you. So I looked, and Juvenile Director Broughton, this includes you as well. I looked at the consent agenda, and I looked at our work session, and I thought, you know, having worked with both delinquents and incarcerated male offenders, I have an abiding interest in the area of criminal justice. So it's wonderful that we're hearing from you. I hope that we will hear more and more and more from you, because it's such a significant opportunity for restoration and healing, as well as public safety. So that's my addition and comment on the consent agenda and the work session tonight. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Well said. And we are so happy to have you here in person, Commissioner Thompson.
Yes.
We've missed you, so this is fantastic. I know. We're glad to have you joining us in person. This is fantastic.
Goosebumps.
I hate to interrupt, but can somebody come whisper their Wi-Fi password to me?
Up.
It should be, you should be able to get on the public site.
Okay.
Thank you. Sorry.
Ask and it shall happen,
I
right?
know, right?
Can you move your mic closer to you?
Me?
You have to eat the mic, like this. Thank you.
I can do
Okay.
that.
Do we have any other comments on the agenda? We ready to move on? Okay, first item is the PSCC bylaws amendment on page 3. And with that, I'll turn it over to our Juvenile Director, Kelly Broughton. Kelly.
Thank you, Chair, members of the board. I come to you today as the chair of PSCC. Unfortunately, Commissioner, not an in-depth conversation about juvenile justice in Clatsop County, or statewide, but more so about the Public Safety Coordinating Council, and particularly involving our bylaws. I'm trying to remember exactly when I started as chair for PSCC, but one of the first things I did was look at bylaws. There were no changes at that time, but something came up to where there was some question as to membership. And so one of the things that we agreed to as a council was to adopt the membership language as written in ORS, instead of, if you look on page 10, you can see the previous bylaw membership breakdown. And there just wasn't concise, and it led to some confusion, particularly in the section where it talks about cities and city councilor or mayor. The assumption was that every city was allowed to appoint someone to attend. our interpretation of ORS is that it's a group, meaning all cities have the ability to recommend a city councilor or mayor and a city manager or other city representative. So it's not necessarily one person from Seaside or one city manager from Seaside. It's as a whole, they select a member, and that member is then a member of PSCC. So essentially our change is just to follow exactly what it says in ORS, which is under Article 3 and it's letter F. And it's pretty clear and concise that a city councilor or mayor and city manager or other city representative, both selected by the cities in the county. So as a group, they put forth their nomination and they are the ones that choose who is a member of PSCC. Are there any questions on that particularly?
Any questions on it? Okay. Nope.
Okay, the other thing I wanted to bring up, we recently had our lay citizen is no longer, she served her 3-year term and we thanked her for it. It was great. Rebecca Reed was a great lay citizen on PSCC. And so we have a vacancy. I believe the number of applicants at this point in time is 3. And so that will be an agenda item down the road because that is a position that is appointed by the Board of Commissioners. The one question we had as a council was under membership, again, letter E, it specifically says that there should be at least one lay citizen. So the previous lay citizen, Rebecca Reed, she had some input as a lay citizen that she thought it would be nice that maybe it was more than one, or that there was representation potentially from different parts of the county, maybe urban, rural, what have you, north, south, something along those lines. And so more than anything, we wanted to put that in your mind as a board to think about in the future when we talk about further lay citizen appointments. PSCC will hopefully have our recommendation of the 3. And if we get another one between now and when we convene, then there will be more options as well, another applicant that is. And so at this point, it was more just, open it up for discussion. If you guys had any thoughts on whether or not one lay citizen is enough. There is a theory that we don't necessarily want, a multitude of citizens, just because it can lead to a challenging order of meeting time, so to speak. But we would like to have representation from a lay citizen for sure. But one of the council members pointed out that there is a such thing as too many. So any thoughts or questions?
Okay, Kelly, I think we have a couple thoughts on here. And I do want to welcome Commissioner Webb, who's joined us as well. Good to have you, Commissioner Webb. Commissioner Thompson?
Thank you. Peace. So, having lived in both urban and rural areas, I like very much your suggestion that we represent both, because I remember with stunning clarity a member of the County Board of Commissioners saying, well, if you have a law enforcement problem, call the police. They'll be there in 5 minutes. Ha, ha, ha. Not so. So different lived experiences, different ways to contribute to your committee. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner Thompson. Commissioner Banks?
Yeah, I like the lay citizen idea. I would say also, though, that having too many lay citizens on a committee is difficult, especially when dealing with something so nuanced as public safety. And so having voices that are in the room with experience on the ground and in the field is by far extremely important when crafting any type of resolution. And so though feedback from lay citizens is extremely important, I would just be very careful of outweighing the voices in the room, because, you know, sometimes my parents used to say too many hens in the hen house and nothing gets done. And so, yeah, that's just my thought.
Yeah, thank you, Commissioner Bangs. Any other comments from the commission? Commissioner Toyoka, and then Commissioner Webb. Commissioner Toyoka.
There we go. Thank you. I don't know if we'll be as fortunate to get someone as involved and well-versed as our previous layperson. She was very wonderful and very knowledgeable. But, you know, at no point did I ever recognize there was a disparity between rural and urban, or, you know, city and any boundary in our discussions. But I don't think it would bog down the system if there was that, you know, representation from both. It would probably provide some good input, but not bog us down, I don't believe. Director,
Thank you, Commissioner Toyoka.
yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. I think I heard him say that there wouldn't be, I mean, from both, like urban, rural, unincorporated, incorporated. Is that what I'm understanding?
I heard two.
Okay, two.
And I,
Right, Commissioner Toyoka?
Yep.
Okay.
yeah.
Commissioner Webb?
You have to unmute.
I have heard so little from the Public Safety Coordinating Council in the last 2 years that I feel rather kind of unprepared to talk about any of these changes. I'm always in favor of more citizen participation rather than less. As I say, since I don't know what the PSCC has been up to these last couple of years, as I say, I feel very uninformed. But there's never a time when I think we can have too much citizen participation in virtually anything that we as a local government do. So that's my feeling. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Webb. I mean, I like the suggestion of a unincorporated and an incorporated lay position.
I do
standing
also.
lay position on the PSCC.
Yeah.
Chair Quillen, members of the board, when we bring this back to your board, we can identify those categories for you, and then it'll be your board's discretion on how you might want to proceed at that point.
Okay. Thank you. Any other comments, questions from the commission? Kelly?
I have nothing further. I appreciate your guys' time.
Thank you very much, Kelly. Appreciate the presentation. And this will come back to us. We'll go ahead and move on to the next item, which is the Fair Board MOU, and our County Manager, Don Boone.
Thank you, Chair Quayla, members of the board, and certainly Commissioner Toyoka and Commissioner Bangs are free to weigh in at any time. So the small work group for the Fair Board MOU met twice now, and we benefited prior to the second meeting with Mike Audio, the chair of the Fair Board, who had provided some edits to the MOU, and his edits really dealt with the staffing issue. The staffing issue is the central issue for the Fair Board, which comes down to the fact that they don't want to supervise the Fair Board manager, and the Fair Board manager needs to supervise the other staff. And so he provided edits for that, and then of course we got a hold of it and we provided a lot more edits, that just updated, the agreement. None of our edits change or complicate, what the Fair Board was asking for. But we did want to reiterate some of the roles, like the role of the Board of Commissioners in adopting the budget, like the role of county policies and procedures, that they will be followed, but to also clarify that the fair manager will be taking operational and policy direction from the Fair Board, so that when it comes to a fair policy, they're going to follow the fair policies when it comes to the operations of the fairground, but when it comes to personnel issues, procurement issues, and all the other county policies, those will be followed. And we created a process whereby if there's any disagreement, the Fair Board Chair and myself or the Vice Chair will sit down and we'll figure out what the path forward is. So I think that it's a good step forward from, I think it complies with what the Fair Board requested in terms of amendments to the MOU. So we're just presenting it to your board for your information. If you have any suggested edits or redirection, that's fine also. The Fair Board will be talking about it in the first week of November when they have their Fair Board meeting. I did talk to Mike Audio, the Fair Board Chair, and he is fine with the version that is in front of your board tonight. So we are getting close, and obviously a lot of work begins once this is adopted by the Fair Board and by your board, meaning recruiting for a fair manager, and then having us be able to go through and make sure all the processes are in place so that we can feel comfortable supervising somebody else. So there's work to be done, but I think this is the first step. So, and I'll leave it to Commissioner Toyoka and Commissioner Banks for follow-up if they have any.
All right, any follow-up? Commissioner Banks?
I love this. I feel like it keeps with the heart of what the Fair Board is requesting, and that's anonymity and to be able to retain their identity as a fair board, but also as a fairground situation. But in the same hand, it helps them dot their I's and cross their T's and alleviates some stress, I think, from having to be managers when they already have other jobs and that this is only a volunteer position. And so I am really hopeful that this turns out how we anticipate. And I look forward to sitting in the Fair Board meetings and getting to the nuts and bolts of having an amazing fair and having an amazing facility, and events.
And I should have said too that our county council has also reviewed this, meaning Anthony has already
Welcome, Anthony.
reviewed
Glad
this
to have you
also.
here.
So
Commissioner Toyoka, did you have anything you'd like to say?
Yes, thank you. With the sit-down meetings and discussing what the priorities were for the Fair Board, this MOU is exactly, it kind of translates exactly their desires. And so I think it's a great marriage of, what they want to do, put in writing and roles and responsibilities, and it kind of cuts a clear path of responsibility between the county staff and the Fair Board members. So I think it's great. We were offered edits, and I was like, there is no edit to be done. It looks great as it is.
Thank you, Commissioner Toyoka. I see that Commissioner Thompson?
So isn't this a lovely balance of creative program autonomy and administrative accountability? That's a particularly, as you said, nuanced and very good use of our authority and the public's dollars to produce maximum value in the community. So well done, staff, and thanks to the liaison members of the commission. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner Thompson. Any other comments? Commissioner Banks?
I look forward to see who applies for this job. It's going to take a really I wouldn't say unique individual, but that person was gonna have to wear a lot of hats, but I know that that person is out there. And, I mean, we have one, so I know it exists, so,
We will find somebody.
yeah.
Thank you, Commissioner Bangs. County Council, did you have anything you wanted to add at this time?
No.
Okay. Well, I agree. Job well done in crafting this and working, like you say, a delicate line. But I think was successful and a great job.
So if I could, Chair Quayla, members of the board, is that the next step will be for the Fair Board to adopt the MOU, and then once that's done, we will have it on a board agenda also.
Sounds great. Thank you very much. We'll move on to the next item, which is election update. Our County Clerk, Tracy Kovenko, is here, and I wanted to say just before you start, great article on October 21st, Eric Bengal from the Astorian. It was really well done. I thought you covered it very comprehensively about what the status and situation is about elections, not just in Clatsop County, but across the nation. So,
And
well done.
If I can, Chair Quayla, members of the board, there'll be another piece on Saturday. Tracy was interviewed as part of the question and answer format that the Daily Astorian does.
Oh, great.
So,
Glad to hear that. Commissioner Banks?
I just want to extend thanks to you, Tracy. This season has been adventurous for you, and you're weathering it very well and with a lot of grace, and I appreciate your thorough answers that you're providing to people, and also the full transparency. I couldn't ask for anything more, and I just wanted to put that out there.
Thank you, Commissioner Banks. Okay, County Clerk?
Yep, thank you, Commissioners. Tracy Korvenko, County Clerk. And here tonight to just highlight a few additional questions that came out of the work session that we had last week. Just want to go over our voter registration, how we are continuously looking at ways to keep that going and accurate, regarding our envelopes, and then also our chain of custody measures that we have in place for some things. So, first of all, I just want to let you know our office is committed to executing fair, accurate, and transparent elections. So we are continuously updating the voter registration database. The voter registration database is controlled by the state level. Each county is responsible, however, for maintaining the accuracy of their voters. We review obituaries, death notices, and notices from other states to assist in keeping our records updated. We follow all state laws and work within the state system that has been provided. We're also continuously looking for ways to improve our processes and security. We are limited to what detailed information we can provide, as we do not want to allow vulnerabilities into our system. The change in removing the optional secrecy sleeve was to save time, opening, and costs associated with them. A printed privacy weave has been put on the inside of the return envelope. This change was done earlier this year, before the primary, and was approved by the Secretary of State. Not all counties have opted to move in this direction, and some still provide the optional secrecy sleeve and/or envelope. And the holes in the return envelope serve multiple purposes. The one in the center of the envelope allows our board workers the ability to quickly see if the ballot has been removed from the envelope. They are then able to bundle them with a zip tie for storage and reconciliation. The two holes on either side of the signature box are called tactile markings for the sight impaired. This allows the sight impaired to sign in the correct place for signature verification. So we have chain of custody measures in place with the ballot pickup, transport, and delivery to our office. Zip ties I spoke of, are used by the workers, are recorded at a drop site on the log sheet. The transport boxes are then returned to the office, where the signature verification team checks the number on the transport box with the log to make sure they are one and the same. This is done before the ballots are removed from the transport carrier in the office. Once they are in the office, the ballots remain in the signature verification room unless staff is working with the ballots that have been challenged for signature issues. The only time they will leave this the signature verification room is when they are then transported down to our opening boards. And many of you have participated in our opening boards, and it is totally open to the public when we're here. If there's any other questions, I'm here to answer for them.
Okay, thank you,
That's all I
County
have.
Clerk. Any questions? Commissioner Thompson, do you have a question?
Well, thank you, Mr. Chair. You know, what a challenging position you're in. I've been personally very welcoming of concerns that are raised. However, I would wish for concerns to be resolved. And I'm starting to wonder if maybe I'm just too optimistic that for some people it will be impossible to allay their concerns regardless of what you do or what you or the county or any of the rest of us say. So, County Manager.
Chair Quayla, Commissioner Thompson, members of the board, I think that certainly at this point, you know, I think our job is really clear, which is to execute a fair and secure and transparent election. In doing that, we certainly hope to embody confidence in others in the system, but there are so many questions just nationwide about different states, and you know, part of the uniqueness is that every state does it differently, and so there are questions that are being raised in all states about the election process, and I think it's really going to be incumbent upon the state and, in some levels, the federal leaders to come together and figure out what is the best way to manage those concerns. Because what you don't want is any kind of disillusionment with the election process. It's too sacred of a process. And so, you know, I think on the one side, certainly, you know, Tracy, as a county clerk, hears the concerns. And what we have done is we've met with different groups and discussed their concerns, and we've made adjustments to our processes because there were suggestions that would improve our system. And so all that I can say is that we're going to be good stewards. We're going to be trustworthy, we're going to take the responsibility seriously, and we're going to execute the best, most fair election, secure election that we can. And then I just hope over time there will be a re-engagement of the trust and faith in the system. And that's all we can hope for at this point. But I think right now, there's going to be skepticism about the election process. And so we're going to keep doing the work that the counties do, and we're going to do it well, and we'll let all of that play out. So,
Thank you, County Manager. I think that I saw Commissioner Webb's hand up first and then Commissioner Banks. Okay. Commissioner Banks.
I also sense a feeling of broken trust throughout, I think, the nation in just regards to our election processes, and I don't think it's up to me to either agree or disagree so much as to look at it as what can the county do to fix what the county can control, and what needs to be left to the state. And so when I look at all of the cares and concerns that people are bringing to me, I try to sort through it in a manner of what can the county control versus what is in the control of the state. And I feel like you guys have done a great job. One thing that I do kind of circle back to is the privacy envelopes. That is something that we could potentially opt into. Is that correct?
We discontinued them. We did have them before, and it is considered an optional envelope and/or sleeve. And we did that to cut costs and to save time in the end processing. The opening boards, that's one less thing they have to open and sort through. But we are addressing that as a group of clerks. We're discussing, how is this working out? Is it not? It is a new opportunity.
So what I would say, Commissioner Banks, is that we could certainly, like we do after every election, look and see what worked, what didn't work. There's a strong network of, county clerks that are talking about these issues statewide. And so I think there'll be conversations about, the efficacy of the sleeves or not. and there can be a reevaluation of that as we move forward.
Commissioner Banks?
And just to kind of, I would be curious to see what the additional cost is, and what the additional man-hours that would equate to. But also, I have to look at us as we are a very small community, and there is, a sense of sometimes everybody knows everybody else's business. And any way to alleviate, somebody's individual fear of maybe their best friend is the one picking up the mail, and maybe they've had a falling out with their best friend. Somehow to alleviate some of that small town, everybody knows everybody and their business, sense, it would be weighing the worth, I think, or the value against, so I would just be curious to see the numbers.
We can, Commissioner, we can provide that. I think that when you look at the weaved envelopes, I mean, the weaving is so that they are private.
You can't see.
And you can't see through them. I mean,
Logic
maybe if you're
and
Radar
emotion.
O'Reilly like he used to do,
Yeah, but I don't think we should just cater to I mean, we have a number of crazy things that are coming at us too. So
Yeah.
I think we have to be, careful about how we bend and do all of these.
100%.
We're doing
Yeah.
the best that
Yeah.
we can, and we're ensuring a fair and a very secure election. So I
Right.
really appreciate our county
And-
clerk's efforts.
So, Mr. Chair, I'm probably the only person who has ever sealed my ballot, signed it, and looked and found the privacy envelope sitting beside, so I had to open it up. So probably nobody else ever did that, but, for some of us, this is a better system.
And what I would say, Commissioners, is that, or if I can, part of my reminder right now is that we are in the election process right now.
Yeah.
And we will look at the entire process once we are done, which is what happens every election. And if there are suggestions for improvement, or if the board has suggestions you are hearing, from your constituents, we will always listen. And so there'll be a definite time where we will circle back and have those conversations.
Thank you. Commissioner Toyoka?
Thank you. And I agree with, Commissioner Banks, that, nationwide, our elections are, under scrutiny, and there's a broken trust. So it does take a lot more energy and effort to regain that trust, because if public feels it's been betrayed. I think the first major important step has just been taken by our elections clerk, Tracy Krenko, and her staff, is communication. Addressing these questions our constituents have, taking it on one by one. This is the very first but very most important step, is to keep that open line of communication, let people know that you're responding to their questions. So thank you very much, Tracy, to you and your staff. And, I appreciate the effort it takes to keep those channels open. And thank you for that.
Thank you, Commissioner Toyoka. I guess my question is about counting night, and I know that there's a lot that goes into prepping for the count, and then that count goes long and overtime happens and all that, but are we going to continue to try to count everything right away?
So Commissioner Aquila, what the plan is, like in the primary, we will stay in the drop boxes to get back. We will process what we can that night upstairs with signature verification, bring them down here and open what is available to be opened. There will be mail, there will be challenges, and everything else coming in the next 7 days to be resolved.
Understood, things
So
that don't
everything
arrive,
received.
but everything that's received, we count.
That we can count.
Okay,
It will be
that's
counted,
the main
yes.
thing. Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely. Great, thank you.
Yep.
Any other questions, comments? Thank you, County Clerk, appreciate that, and
Thank
good
you.
luck throughout this process, and tell the rest of your staff as well how much we